Good evening, everyone. Call this April 17th, 2019 meeting of the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility to order. Commissioner Quesada is excused, Councilor Sanchez is also excused, and Councilor Davis will be his alternate. All other members are present. We're going to begin with the Invocation, Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have a moment of silence, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Trustee Pablo Rael. Thank you. The next item is item 3, which is the approval of minutes. I move approval of the March 2019 minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
It's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion carries. Go next to item 4, which is proclamations and awards, and that's 4A, which is the quarterly employee incentive awards. If the employee is here to receive an award, if you would please come forward and get your to receive your certificate and your award. So I'm going to begin with first person is Catherine Mendoza. Ms. Mendoza is recognized for taking it's $250 plus 8 hours. She's recognized for taking over as a water utilities representative in the Endangered Species Collaborative Program after a co-worker fell ill and was no longer able to serve. She added this to her portfolio in addition to her existing job duties and has excelled in the role, cementing the important working relationships with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Thank you. Next, we have Jose Garcia, Joseph Cave, and Joshua Sena. These individuals are $50 each. These individuals are recognized for volunteering much-needed assistance in the relocation of files during a recent renovation of the Warehouse Records Center. Thank you. And I don't know if anybody's here to accept that, but next is Karen Hovey, $150 plus 4 hours. Ms. Hovey is recognized for her recent efforts to ensure that the Water Authority was not wrongfully held responsible for substandard work performed by another entity, saving the utility time and dollars while upholding our public image. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Hovey. Carlos Sena, $50 he's recognized for taking the initiative to train utility stockkeepers regarding the material requirements of field crews. Thank you. And next is Deborah Garcia, $50. Ms. Garcia is recognized for the assistance and support she provided to an outside department that requested her expertise in completing an analysis of the water quality lab. Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Chris Johnson, $150 plus 4 hours. Mr. Johnson is recognized for his leadership role in the development of the utility's new comprehensive safety manual. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next, we have Aura Gonzalez, Aller, Mark Dennis, and C.J. Riggins, $50 each. These individuals are recognized for their success in taking over a safety department that had been operating without a full staff, and over the past year, successfully reorganizing and upgrading our internal safety program. Thank you all. We have Victoria Derry, $150 plus 4 hours. Ms. Derry is recognized for her heroic efforts as project manager of the recently completed $8 million Yucca/Central Sewer Relocation Project. This extremely challenging engineering project will eliminate a decades-old problem in the Yucca Central area. Thank you. Richard Costales, $150 plus 4 hours. Mr. Gonzalez is recognized for his outstanding project management effort in the completion of the new solids dewatering facility at the South Side Water Reclamation Plant. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Martin Luis Sena, Mr. Luisena is recognized for the innovations in management and leadership he has brought to his position following his promotion to Assistant Superintendent in the Groundwater Division. Thank you. Robert Moraga. Mr. Moraga is recognized for his efforts, $50, for his efforts to improve security features at utility facilities and for handling many important welding fabrication jobs internally that would otherwise have to be contracted out. Thank you. Cody Elwell, $50. Mr. Elwell is recognized for his important efforts in cataloging safety equipment to bring records into compliance with evolving OSHA standards. Thank you, Mr. Elwell. Trina Norman, Deborah Waltz-Burkett, John Vance, Eric Murray, Yvonne Lara, Blythe Morales, Anissa Pennington Pink, and Celeste Rael. This team is recognized for its successful implementation. It's $150, sorry, plus 2 hours. This team is recognized for its successful implementation over the course of many months, evenings and weekends, of the customer care and billing system upgrade. Thank you to you all. We have Lisa Carrion. Ms. Carrion is recognized $50 for outstanding contributions towards helping the less fortunate in our community through the annual Adopt a Family Holiday Program. Thank you, Ms. Carrion. We have Ernesto Unale, Wally Gurale, Abraham Ramirez, and Aaron Arzola, $50 each. These individuals are recognized for their successful repair of an extremely complex and hazardous water main break in early March of this year. Thank you. Next, we have Filimon Martinez, Marcus Sena, Richard Vasquez, Matthew Montano, Anthony Wood, Anthony Contreras, George Cordova, Joseph Saiz, Pedro Benitez, Juan Archuleta, Richard Gutierrez, Michael Gallegos, Derek Baca, Vernon Velarde, and Raymond Garcia, $50 each. These individuals of the Collection Section Construction Group are recognized for their leadership in bringing 148 manholes across different jurisdictions up to standards to allow completion of a comprehensive inspection of the sewer interceptor system. Thank you all very much. And finally, we have Carlos Griego, Randy Baca, James Munez, Daniel Altamirano, Victor Martinez, Arlo Gonzalez, Sammy Sena, Nelson Gallegos, Robert Lucero, Jesus Cordova, Yoset Yonek, Canyon Doobie, Henry Ortega, Stephen Bottigoliso, Daniel Perez, Michael Leeds, Jacob Chavez, Paul Smith, Daniel Bogue, Jacob Gavaldon. It's twice, so there's not two. Okay, I'm going to assume. And Brian Romero. $50 each. These members of the VACTOR group are recognized for their leadership in implementation of new documentation procedures, allowing for greatly improved asset management practices. I want to thank you all very much for the work you do on behalf of the authority. You're very much appreciated. Takes us next to public comment. Ms. Carrion, how many folks do we have signed up? 2 folks, okay. And that's 3 minutes each. So it looks like just 2 minutes after 1.5 minutes go by, then you get a 30-minute little bell so that you know you need to wrap up. So the first person?
Our first speaker is Rodolfo Serrano, followed by Willard Hunter.
Welcome.
Madam O'Malley, members of the city, members of council. Well, we're jumping into hard areas for water, you know, and I have this idea, you know, of how to fight global warming with global warming, and I'm starting to, you know, recycle carbon to make it an activated carbon to purify our waters. It's a great idea because China is burning a bunch of wood, throwing a lot of chemicals into the air that come down here, and then we pay them for the activated carbon to clean the water that they polluted in the first place. And it's a three-way effort, you know. First, you know, treat it like that. I'm trying to get support from the city and from the county to get this business here. We can be the first ones to do it. I do have the patent for it. I would like to see us participate and see if you guys can help me in these efforts, because our waters needs it. You know, I'm talking to Kirtland. I've been pushing Kirtland. I can get half price of what they're paying. You know, if they support me, support them. You know, so it's just getting into the right business. It's the right time. Then we can start timbering those woods. You know, instead of just burning it and throw more smoke to the air. That's phase 2. But that's just starting. You know, and I'm really gonna need your support on this. And the second thing is draw. You know, some areas of our river go up to 5 degrees higher than other ones, and water just disappears like that. And I was thinking solar panels. You know, let's make a shade, and we can get 5, you know, watts of energy instead of losing 5 liters of water. It's just doing the right math. That's what I'm doing for you guys here. But I need you guys to work with me too, and hopefully we can get something done. So I have nothing else. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is Willard Hunter.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Members of the Bernalllio County Water Authority at Albuquerque. These comments are actually directed toward the representatives of the Air Force here. I've been interested in the issue related to Sandia Labs mixed waste cesspool for a long time, and also for the Kirtland Air Force Base fuel. I call it a gush. It's not a leak, it's a gush. One would think that the primary mission of the Air Force is to protect this country, and I actually, based on what the Air Force has done, I really question that. In the early 1980s, the EPA required gas stations to pressure test their buried metal fuel tanks. And I remember fuel tanks all over the country were dug up. The Air Force exempted itself from that requirement. They said they don't need to do that. And the little holes that developed out of Kirtland Air Force Base by the early 80s developed over the last, or 15 years later, into big holes that are the size or bigger of silver dollars. And I would guess, I don't know, but I would guess probably 95% of the fuel leaked out of the fuel dump after they were supposed to have tested that. Over the life of that leak, an estimated 24 million gallons of aviation gas and jet fuel gushed into the ground at an estimated almost 70 gallons an hour, every hour for 24 years, or for the life of that leak, until it was finally discovered. So based on that cavalier attitude at Kirtland Air Force Base and other Air Force bases all over the country, I see the Air Force actually is a major threat to the environment and the people of this country. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to move up. Well, first, I guess the next scheduled meeting is May 22nd, 2019, in these chambers. And then we're going to move up the 2 presentations. We've got this 10A, which is the status, the Kirtland Air Force Base bulk fuels facility cleanup, followed by the water and drought report. So we have Mark Correll up. Welcome, Mr. Correll.
All right, well, good evening, and thank you very much for allowing me to come speak to you tonight and give you an update on the Kirtland Bulk Fuels Facility spill cleanup operations. I'm Mark Correll. I'm the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Air Force for Environment, Safety, and Infrastructure. Let me start off by saying I heard earlier today that there are a number of new members to this water utility authority. I'll say welcome, but I'm also going to say to you, I'm not new to this. So I stand before you today almost 5 years from the time I first came and addressed how the Air Force would address this cleanup. And so I think from a standpoint of commitment from the United States Air Force, what you're seeing is we've been doing this for a long time. We're going to continue to do this for a long time. I'll give you 3 main messages that I'll pass at the beginning, at the end of this presentation. The first is that the Air Force has committed to and remains with the goal of, and where we are today, that no one is drinking water in this city or in Kirtland Air Force Base with EDB in it. Second, that the Air Force remains committed to the Kirtland bulk fuels cleanup. And third, what I'm going to go through tonight, that we have met or exceeded all of the commitments we made in June of 2014 when we first came. So I'm not sure how the slide things work, but do I say next slide or push a button? Ah, I do this. Okay, very good. So let me first warn you up front, I'm sorry, I'm from the federal government. We use acronyms. I will try not to do that. Please raise your hand or yell at me or something if I make an acronym statement that you don't understand as we go through this. So first, what did I say in June of 2014 when I came and said this is what we will do for you? I said we're going to ensure that the drinking water wells of this city never are contaminated with EDB. Where are we today? No fuel leak related constituents have been detected in any of the Sentinel wells that are intended to tell us when we're going to have a problem, or in the drinking water wells that you use for consumption today. We're going to talk more about that though. When I came before, I said we were going to stop and then try to collapse the EDB plume. Where are we today? The pump and treat interim measures that we put into place for the EDB plume north of Ridgecrest Drive are having a significant effect. We are seeing no spread of the plume and a significant collapse of the plume. Finally, I said we're going to bring the contaminants of concern below regulatory standards. Today, the fuel source leak area is still under investigation. We have a number of pilots, projects and treatment source solutions that we're looking at, and I'll discuss some of those as well. To date, we have spent $125 million towards this cleanup as of the end of fiscal year 2018. So let's talk a little bit about ensuring the drinking water wells remain protected. Drinking water wells in the city are tested monthly and have been for the entire time I've been associated with this project. Where are we today? We have yet to detect ever any EDB or fuel-related constituent in any of the drinking water in the system. We're trying to define the plume. How have we done that? Since I came in 2014, we've added 62 monitoring wells, bringing us to a total of 159 monitoring wells that have, in our estimation, effectively determined the length, width, and depth of this plume. We have also installed 24 Sentinel wells located between the plume and drinking water sources that are sampled quarterly, and throughout this period, none of those Sentinel wells have ever detected any EDP or any other constituent of concern to us. There has been, of late though, concern about the water table rising. And what did that mean to us? So let me talk a little bit about our response to the water table rise. So during that time frame, because the water table rose, essentially what happened is about 61 of those 159 wells became submerged, and consequently the data wasn't as effective for us in determining where the plume was and what was going on. We installed 15 new wells to help us understand what was happening due to the water level rise. There were also 12 wells that were already above the water table, such that they were useless to us until the water table rose, and so we actually started getting good data from them. And then we had about 8 wells that were within 5 feet of the water table rise, consequently allowing us to use the data from them as well. At this point, we now have 43 functional wells telling us what's going on with the water table. What did the data from that tell us? It told us that the plume was unaffected by the water table rise, which did not surprise us from a scientific standpoint. But it also goes a little farther and helps us understand that later, when I show you how the EDB plume is collapsing, because the results were exactly as predicted, it helps us understand that in fact that plume collapse that I'm going to show you is in fact real. It's not the result of dilution as a result of the water coming up. It's in fact a result of the interim measures and the pump and treat that we've had in place to make this happen. The last thing that I would note on this one is there is one more Sentinel well that we intend to place in 2019, and it'll be located, if you're looking at the slide at the very top, that yellow area, with that kind of blob at the very top there, we'll be installing one more Sentinel well just to make sure that there's no place that the EDB could move towards our drinking water supplies here in Albuquerque. So I've led you up to what does the plume look like today? So on the left-hand side, what you're seeing there is what did it look like in the second quarter of 2015, and what does the plume look like today? For reference, where you can see the dark line, that is our target area of concern. That's the area north of Ridgecrest, and I'll talk about south of Ridgecrest later. That's the area north of Ridgecrest. Let me make some points here, though, to say that the Air Force, again, remains committed to this pump and treat interim measure. We have no intention of reducing that until it's necessary to do so. The investments that we've made to add an additional extraction well, so a fourth well that we put into place in February of 18, has doubled the capacity of the treatment plant and added disposition methods that clearly demonstrate our commitment to keep working on this project. I'd like to thank some folks, though. The technical working groups that have been involved in determining how we would do things like locate the EDB plume, site the extraction wells, establish the pumping rates at which it would be most effective to use those wells. And so who's been involved in that I need to thank? Well, there's been members of the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority. There's been folks from the city of Albuquerque, the EPA, and the U.S. Geological Survey, as well as team members from the Air Force that have put this together. One of the things that we talked about when we came in 2014, at that time, what we called the EPA calls its fate and transport model, where are things going to go and how do we think that's going to end up? They thought at that time, based on the estimated data that was available, that it would take us about 10 years to get all of the EDB south of Ridgecrest. Now, in this year, there will be a new EPA model that's coming out, and it will have the benefit of the data that we've collected over the last almost 5 years. And I think we're all going to be pleasantly surprised to see it's going to be way less than 10 years before we get the EDB plume less south of Ridgecrest as we had intended. So kind of what have we done from a pump and treat? What are the results that you've seen so far? So the effluent that we receive from our pump and treat system right now is non-detect for all Safe Drinking Water Act contaminants. To date, we've pumped 615 million gallons of groundwater, and that's resulted in about 113 grams of EDB that's been removed. Now, that doesn't sound like very much, and it isn't very much, but one of the reasons is because north of Ridgecrest, what we're finding is there isn't a high concentration of EDB. That's good news. That means that the risk and the threat is low, but it also means even with those small amounts, we're able to capture them and make sure that they don't reach the water supply. Within the target area, we've reduced 86% of the mass of EDB. So what you're looking at on this chart is kind of two lines, which is the blue line, which is the target capture zone of how much EDB is there, and then the green line that's going up is the how much have we captured going out. So about 86% of it we believe we've captured. A fair question would be, so how do you know about that? So what we do is we'll test, and it's an estimate, but it's a pretty good estimate, and it gets better as time goes along. We test at the sites at each one of these monitoring wells, what is the concentration we're seeing. Then we look at what is the concentration of water that's coming into our influent, coming into the pump and treat versus what's coming out. And when you measure those differences, you're able to see this reduction. So as I looked at the chart, one of the questions I asked is, well, how could it go up and down? How could it go down and then go back up? So it's an estimate, and you're going to get variations as you go through this. The important part is to look at the trend. So at the end of the day, while this number might not be particularly exact in terms of it, if you look at the trend, the 86% is pretty close to on target. So it might be 85, might be 87, but the trend shows you dramatic reduction in the mass of EDB. One more, 2 minutes. Well, come back here. Okay, stop for me there. There we go. All right. So let me move to the source area a little bit and talk about what are we doing in the source area. So by the source area, I'm going to talk about the area where the spill actually occurred and then really all the way up to Ridgecrest from there. We've got a couple of pilots that are ongoing right now. One is associated with the ethylene dibromide in situ bioremediation pilot test. So what are we talking about in there? We are going to use that bioremediation where we will essentially add food to the ground in an attempt to get the appropriate kinds of bacteria to eat the EDB, for lack of a better term. We've done some testing on this, and we've got an initial report that's going to be due to the New Mexico Environmental Department on the 1st of May, but the results have been extraordinarily promising in the pilot. Now, I warn everybody, a pilot is just that. Is it a test? And it's a test under certain circumstances. Can we scale that to the rest of the area that we need to address? That remains to be seen, but the pilot is encouraging on the EDB. The second test we've got is in the soil vapor extraction area in what we call the VADO zone, where we ran for about 12 years a soil vapor extraction program to get that vapor and condense it and then burn it off or remove it from the soil. Doing that over the course of about 12 years really dried that soil out. And we kind of made soil vapor extraction something that was no longer viable for us. What we're going to do under this pilot is add oxygen and add water and see if we can reinvigorate that soil vapor extraction. We're going to run a pilot test on that between April and October of 2019, and then the first results you see will be sometime in early 2020. The objective of that is to be able to, can we get at the vapor in areas that we weren't able to get at with the soil vapor extraction? In the source area, just so you know, we have also completed all of the excavation of 4,800 tons of soil, the 12 years of soil vapor extraction and what we took out during that time frame. We also tried some other things, something called bioslurping, which is where we go and try to get free product that's between the ground and the water and bring that up. We did that for about 4 years. Didn't find that we found a lot of free product, but a number of things have been done to make that happen.
Madam Chair.
Councilor
Mr.
Davis?
Carell, before you go on, if you could go back really quickly to bioremediation, if you'll allow me to interrupt, I think while we're here.
To this one?
Yes, sir, thank you.
Sure.
It's been my understanding in previous presentations to the community that in discussing this, the bioremediation test included, as you're saying, putting water and vapor back and oxygen back into the ground to help the bacteria. But there was also, I understand, maybe a lab test that also showed that by adding additional bacteria could fast track this process significantly. But I understand that that's not a part of the pilots that are being conducted in the field at this time. Can you tell us why they decided not to take that extra step that had generated the most bang for our buck sort of in the lab?
Sure. So let me do two things first. So the oxygen and water is really about the bioventing, not
Yes.
about the bioremediation.
Sorry, okay, thanks.
So for the lab test on bioremediation, I'm gonna ask Ms. Linus because that's beyond my technical
Thanks.
scope.
That's a really good question, Councilman Davis. The reason that we asked the New Mexico Environment Department to put that part of the EDB in situ bioremediation on the shelf temporarily is because we actually found we had such a robust community of naturally dehalogenating bacteria down in our subsurface that when we fed them, they did such a great job and knocked it back so fast, and they were so robust. Our feeling was that adding the additional bacteria, they would have been overwhelmed by the existing bacteria that are there, and it really would not have added anything to it. So instead of doing that, we did a second phase of biostimulation, giving them more food, and we're in the process of collecting the data on that second round. Now, we haven't totally given up on necessarily trying the additional bacteria. It's kind of on the shelf, but from the first round that we've seen, and when we see the data from the second round, I think we found that the bacteria that we already had there are doing a bang-up job. And I've actually talked to some other folks that do this, and they said a lot of times when you have that kind of robust activity down there, adding those other bacteria, they kind of like just disappear and they get overwhelmed.
Sure. Ms. Lynch, I don't want to take too long. I want to continue that presentation. But on this point, because I'm not a scientist on this, but it seems to me that the two things we're hearing don't make sense or don't seem to come together very well. In one slide or one presentation, we're saying that the 12 years of sort of drying everything out has really degraded sort of both the vapor and the oxygen and the water capacity, the water down ground. But at the same time, we're saying there's still a robust bio community there that's doing the work. And I think we've seen conflicting people who've said those two things cannot, we've heard from other presentations, those two things cannot exist simultaneously. Can you help remedy that for me?
Councilman Davis, I think Mr. Carell was trying to get to that point as well. We're actually talking about two different
Sure.
pilot tests.
But I
And
understand,
so
but I'm saying they're happening on the same soil.
No, they're two very different things. So the EDB pilot is actually focused at the groundwater, and the NAPL in that area. So we're not talking about the Vados zone. So we're
Right.
talking about two different things here. So the EDB pilot, where we decided not to add the, I call them the gentrified bacteria, that's in the groundwater. So it's a totally different thing. In the area of the
Vados.
Vados zone is what's above, the 500 feet above, and that is where we did kind of beat up the aerobic bacteria. So these are anaerobic bacteria in the ethylene dibromide. These are aerobic bacteria in the Vados
Yep.
zone. So it's two separate things. And so those bacteria we were pretty mean to, and we did desiccate them and take their oxygen level down too far. So that's why we're not actually adding water, we're adding moisture
Correct.
and ambient air to try to revitalize them. So we're actually talking about two very separate things.
Thanks, Ms. Linus. And the chair reminded me, thank you so much. And the chair reminded me, if you would, Kate, would you just state your name and your title for the record for the
Oh, I
transcriptions?
apologize. My name
Thank
is
you.
Catherine Linus, Lynnes, and I'm the Senior Advisor for the Bulk Fuels Project for the Air Force.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Grell, thanks for letting us go down that rabbit hole a minute. I know it's something that had come up previously.
Madam Chair,
That's good.
if I may, this is a
Commissioner
question
Stebbins.
for staff. Do we have a copy of this presentation? I don't see it available on our, in our packets.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Hart Stebbins, no, it's electronic only at the podium.
But that was not included in our meeting document?
We did not receive it in sufficient time to do that.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So I'll take responsibility for that. For me to make a presentation, I have to write it, I have to get it through Public Affairs, I have to get it through Legal, and so we didn't get it to you till yesterday, as was the soonest I could get it to you. So let's talk a little bit more about south of Ridgecrest. So south of Ridgecrest, because we've been dealing most with the target zone, where are we headed from there? So on the first bullet, what you're seeing is we have conducted coring across about 3,500 linear feet, including 300 samples from several different locations. What is the goal of that coring? What it's going to do is it's going to tell us for the non-aqueous phase liquid, I have to remember what the acronyms stand for too, for the non-aqueous phase liquids, where has it smeared? So as you know, this stuff sits kind of between the soil and the water. Has it smeared, and how much has it smeared? Where it's going to tell us where has that occurred. It's going to tell us what the current constituents of that non-aqueous phase liquids are, so that we can then decide what's the best approach to handle those areas. So I think it goes to a great point that Commissioner Davis was getting to, which is each one of these areas has something different. We removed soil and just got rid of it and remediated it. We're pumping and treating water. That treats one piece of this. Soil vapor extraction treats a different aspect of this. And so now we have this non-aqueous phase liquid that we have to deal with as well. And that's what we'll be working with from this coring area. Once we have that, it will inform to us what is the best approach. How can we best go about treating the constituents that are in that area? What is the status? We expect that we're going to have our initial results on this summer, and that we will have a report to the New Mexico Environmental Department by fall. Actually, November is where we think we want to go. So you can see there, I'll just take a second to talk about the 9 cores that were converted to 2 well ground monitoring nests. What's a ground watering nest? Essentially what it means is when we put these in the ground, we'll put 2 wells essentially parallel to each other, one a little bit higher than the other. The one that's lower is in the water table now, and the one that's higher is above it, so that if we have another event where the water table goes up and it gets submerged, I can use the data from the second one. The 6 wells in the vaporing monitoring nest are the same construct, where we will put wells at varying levels so that if things change, we'll be able to use them. Why 6 instead of 2? Because it's 500 feet of Vados zone where the vapor is, but we only have to deal with the NAPL at a very much narrower area at the top of the water table. So that's what we're trying to get to as we deal with the area south of Ridgecrest. And, okay, let me go to this one. So one of the other things I wanted to highlight was the community outreach that we've done in the last 4.5, almost 5 years since we've been working on this program. So not to say this is all we would ever do, but the requirement that we have under the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act is to have 2 public meetings per year, and that is all we are required to do. You can see the list of what's on here. And by the way, this is just for the Kirtland bulk fuel spill. We still do 2 public meetings every year at Kirtland for all the other cleanups that we have, but for the Kirtland bulk fuels facility spill, we do this many public meetings plus all of the others that you see here. So I believe the Air Force is committed to engaging with the community, informing the community, and giving the opportunity for the community to hear and understand what the Air Force is doing and where we're headed as we go forward. All right, last slide is, so what's the way ahead? I'll caveat the way ahead just by saying this is the Air Force's way ahead. I still have to work with the New Mexico Environmental Department and the regulators so their timetable is not necessarily mine, but where we wish to go on this is we will have a National Pollutant Discharge Permit, hopefully issued by the EPA in 2019. We hope to never have to use that permit, but what would that permit allow us to do? It would allow us potentially to take the clean water that comes out of the pump and treat system that is completely compliant with the Safe Drinking Water Act, and if for some reason we couldn't put it on a golf course, or if for some reason we couldn't re-inject it, we'd be able to surface release that water, as long as it met the permit requirements. We expect to have that permit this year. I already talked about the bioventing pilot test that we intend to implement this year. And the shallow soil vapor data, that's the core samples that I was talking about that we expect to have this year as well. In 2020, we will have a second injection well that will be completed. And what does that mean? That means that we will have we have one well that's really reliable and one that's fairly old for re-injection, the water that we get out of the pump and treat system. We'll have another well that will be more reliable, and that should cover any potential problems should one well go down. We'll have no problem with a place to put the water that's coming out of the pump and treat system. And then in 2020, we hope that the site investigation phase will be completed with this coring report that I just talked about, and that we'll get the phase 2 of the RFI report. The phase 2, we already have. The phase 1 was, what do we think? That's the defining the plume. Phase 2 is, okay, now that the water table rose, what do we think now? That's what phase 2 is. We hope to have that complete in 2020. In 2021, we'd like them to approve that report with an updated risk assessment. And then hopefully we're going to have the corrective measures evaluation report started in 2021. Then beyond that, we would get to corrective measures implementation. And so that's kind of where we are as we go ahead. The corrective measures evaluation, we think, is about a 1 to 2 year process. Again, that is highly dependent on how long the regulators wish to review it. So let me conclude then by saying, as I started, so I'm back here 4.5 years later, and as you mentioned that Ms. Linus is here, she's been here almost 5 years, and she's been with me for almost 4 years of that. The Air Force is committed to this project. No one's drinking water with EDB in it. We remain committed to the Kirtland bulk fuels cleanup. We recognize what the Air Force's responsibility is, and we've made commitments to you. And in every one of those commitments, we've met that commitment or we've exceeded it, and we're not done. We will continue working on this. So let me stop there, and I'll be happy to take any additional questions that you have for me.
Members? Oh, Commissioner Stebbins, you have some?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to say, Secretary Kroll, thank you for being here. There is certainly a lot of good news, a lot of good news to celebrate tonight. And I really give you full credit for that. You know, when you came in 2014, you made a point of listening to all of us in the local government and listening to our concerns. And at that time, and it continues to be, you know, the dissolve phase. And what kind of a threat, the dissolve phase plume, and what threat that represented to our drinking water wells. So, you know, when we look at the map and we see the accomplishments on that, that's fantastic. And again, I want to thank you for that. And I know, as you said, there are lots of people who also deserve to be thanked, and there were some really key people that you brought on, like Dr. Bador, Trent Simpler. There were people who made that happen, and I want to make sure that we recognize them as well, because we're seeing the results of their work. So your presentation said 85 or 86% of the EDB mass has been captured in the target capture zone. Do you have an estimate of what percent of the total plume has been captured?
I'd have to take that one and get back to you on it, so I don't know. And I don't know that we have that data yet for the south of Ridgecrest so that we really know how much there is. So We've got a really robust measurement system north of Ridgecrest, and we're working more on some of these other aspects but south of Ridgecrest. But if you don't mind, I'll take that one for the record, and I'll get back to you on that.
That would be great. So the area south of Ridgecrest, so again, I think there was an agreement among all of us that the target capture zone would be north of Ridgecrest. There still is some EDB, some significant concentrations in the plume that is south of Ridgecrest. Are there plans to install extraction wells south of Ridgecrest to begin addressing that, that EDB that's outside the target capture zone?
So thanks. That's a great question that allows me to talk a little bigger picture discussion on this. So what are we doing here under this interim measures? We're doing something ahead of the CME, ahead of our corrective measures evaluation. How does this normally work? So we have 4,300 cleanup sites in the Air Force. So how does this work under the CERCLA and RCRA process normally? Normally we don't do any of this until we finish the equivalent of the corrective measures evaluation. We do none of it. We don't start any of the pump and treat. At Kirtland, we started this way in advance of it. At this point in time, with the 4 pump and treats that we have in place and the other data we have, we think we've got a sufficient interim measure. So at this point, what we would do is finish the analysis that I talked about where we're doing the soil cores, get that information, and then use that in the corrective measures evaluation to determine what's the right answer. It could be pump and treat, but it might be something different. So at this point, nobody's drinking water, plume's not moving. What we would want to do is get that data, find out what the right answer is, and then take the correct action to address it, which could be pump and treat, but we don't know that yet.
And that would be, I think you gave a timeline for completion of the CMEs might be 2023?
So we would like to have the CME started in 2021. It'll take 1 to 2 years to do that, depending on the number of questions that we have. And by the way, that is also an opportunity for the reason, why does it take that long? It's not just I send it to MED and they sit on it for 2 years. There will be an opportunity for public review, public comment, very robust investigation, because at that point we're all coming to an agreement on this is what the plume contains and this is how big it is. So it will take a little while to do that. So we are estimating it will take 1 to 2 years to make that happen.
So you've got
and you all will be a part of that.
You have this world-class pump and treat facility. And again, I want to thank you. I do recognize that you did actively respond to our concerns to get this work done now. And I appreciate that. So you've got this amazing pump and treat system, which is working incredibly quickly. What happens, does it shut down when the EDB in the target capture zone has been removed?
Great question again. So thanks. I appreciate you doing these. Are great questions. So one of the things that we will do as part of the corrective measures evaluation, we'll then get to corrective measures implementation. So in conjunction with the regulator, a decision will be made, the equivalent of a record of decision that says, okay, we've looked at all of the information, and here's what we've decided. We've decided we're going to do these things, and we're going to do them for this long a period of time, typically not time-based, typically results-based. So in this particular case, as we've said before, the maximum contaminant level, for example, for EDB is 5 micrograms per nanoliter. The record of decision will likely say you will run this until you achieve a certain level in your groundwater. Once you've achieved that level, then we will move to another phase, typically long-term monitoring, to see whether or not there's rebound and the numbers go back up again, or they're able to, and do we need to continue that pump and treat, or have we in fact finished at some point? So the goal is, no, you don't want to run pump and treat forever. You want to run it until you don't need it anymore. And the record of decision will tell us when we think that is, but there's always a long-term monitoring period where we have to constantly check and see, did it stay that way or did something bad happen after we left?
Okay. So any operational changes in the pump and treat system would be contingent upon
So the
additional
corrective measures
information.
evaluation
Okay.
and implementation agreement.
So nothing short-term?
No. So if your question is, are we going to shut the thing down? We are not shutting the pump and treat down. It's going to go. It's continuing to go. And we have no plans to curtail it at all.
Great. And you mentioned some of the deadlines that have been established by NMED. Do you, and I know some of those were in a letter that was dated February 25th. Do you anticipate meeting all of those deadlines?
We do.
That's excellent. Let's see. One thing, okay, so 2019, can you just talk about the status of the vapor risk assessment?
So I'm going to ask Ms. Linus to come up and talk about that too. I'm aware of it, she's briefed me, but my concern is I will misspeak. So let her do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hart-Stebbins. So as part of the state's conditional approval of our risk assessment, they requested that we do some additional shallow soil vapor borings, kind of over by where the VA has, closer where they have buildings, and up just at the edge of Bullhead Park, and then like across the street, like into Lassiter Park, near the homes. You know, in our last stakeholder meeting, you know, Dennis McQuillan, the chief scientist for NMED, said, I don't really think there's anything there. Bart Ferris from the city of Albuquerque echoed that. We really don't think there's anything there, but we want to kind of do belts and suspenders. And one of the reasons for this is in those vapor monitoring nests that Mr. Carell mentioned, our shallowest one is 25 feet down. And so we basically took that data and said, that's just like, we're going to take that concentration and assume it's right under your floor when we did the risk assessment. And it was found to be okay. But we don't have actual data from that shallower zone, which is how you evaluate whether or not there's a potential for vapor intrusion. You're looking at 5 to 10 feet below grade. So that's why we're going to do those. And we will have the work plan to the state within the time frame established in that letter. The state wants us to do 2 sampling rounds, one in the summer, one in the winter, because the concentrations tend to be higher in the winter if we find any concentrations. And then there will be a summary report that's due to the state whenever they establish when it's due, because we don't have a date for that yet. And then that will feed into an amended risk assessment either as part of the CME or at the end of the RFI Phase 2. And just one other quick thing. You asked what's the plume capture south of Ridgecrest. This system is not designed to affect that. So that's why well 239, which is right there on Ridgecrest by San Pedro, that is at the foot of that target capture zone. That's well 239, the one we're pumping at a lower rate, like around 75 GPM. So this is, again, this interim measure is only designed to address that dissolved phase EDB alone plume, and it doesn't affect the rest of the plume south of there.
Thank you. All right. 2 more quick questions. Budget. So federal budget, do you have any concerns? I know there's been discussion in the media about perhaps infrastructure dollars being diverted from military installations around the country. Any concerns about funding availability for this?
So the answer to that question is no. It's been asked several times. And so what I will tell you is we remain committed to this program. You will see budget fluctuations here throughout this program. Why is that? When we install a pump and treat well, or when we built the building, that's going to be a big spend year. Once the well is in place, now all I have to pay for is operations and maintenance and sustainment of that well. So every year you'll see ups and downs in the budgets, but they're based on reflecting what is the requirement to meet the need. But I do not anticipate any challenges in meeting our budgetary need for this project, or frankly any of the others that we have.
And one final question, and you know, this is really based on recent conversations with some of our local Air Force leadership. Would you say the Air Force is committed to continuing to include the Water Authority as a stakeholder?
So I would say yes. And so at the end of the day, we have to recognize the regulator is the New Mexico Environmental Department, and we are the regulated entity. And so that relationship between the Air Force and the New Mexico Environmental Department is the decision relationship. At the same time, there's value in bringing many stakeholders in to participate, and we've seen that. And so the folks who have participated from the Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority have provided great value as advisors to us. I would expect they will continue to do that. One of the things folks need to recognize, though, as we move forward on it, when we first started this, we didn't know what we were going to do. Lots of discussion, lots of input required. Now we're at a point where we've got our four wells for the EDB plume in. We think our interim measures, with the exception of some of these pilot tests, are pretty well set until we get to the corrective measures and evaluation. So the need for lots more change and input is probably going to be smaller as we go forward, but I think all the players will still need to be there, and we will value their input.
And again, thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Davis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Carell, thank you again. And Ms. Lennis, thank you so much. I just wanted to follow up again, to the commissioner's point there, and just reiterate how important it is, I know in the last sort of several quarters that on the Air Force side of the table, in terms of this sort of roundtable with NMED and others, it seems to have been there's a perception that the Air Force is sort of pushing some of those data-driven stakeholders or data contributor stakeholders out. And I think what you said tonight is exactly well stated, and due to the work of the Air Force, that to date there are no contaminants in our drinking water. But I think that's in big part to the Water Authority stepping up to add not only technical expertise, but also being able to sit at the table, validate, question, and ask for more clarification on data so that we can put that back to our rate holders, because they're our ratepayers, because there's no, as you've said, there's no way for us to unring that bell once we get to that place. And so I just hope that we can continue to have a more transparent process on the data side instead of on the post-report side, because that helps us reassure our constituents and our ratepayers that you are doing a good job, and we trust that data. I have no doubt that it's true at this point, but still, we know that in the past there has been frustration there, and we don't want to lose that good momentum. I did want to follow up really quickly to the point that was made about the Vado zone and sort of monitoring at the Bullhead Park. And I know Ms. Linus mentioned Lassiter Park, which is actually under a neighborhood there. And as you mentioned, 3 of those wells had earlier in addition to other things, benzene as well in those 25-foot below ground level monitoring. And we haven't seen anything further. I understand that the Air Force has a deadline of a couple of days, I think, in May, to put a plan forward on what we do to continue to monitor those. But I think there's a real concern that the Air Force has offered, for example, for us to I see Colonel Alvarez back there, who's been a great partner with us in the community and the Air Force Base, have offered for us to take over additional Air Force land there as open space and maintain it. And we're doing some significant improvements and investments in our public parks there. But I think we have some concern from community members that if there is a pathway, or if there's a lack of data between the 25-foot level and the ground level that we don't yet have, as we do more activity and more construction and more investment in those parks, we want to fast track the process to ensuring that there is no pathway. And I think maybe I'm going to end with a question by saying, I understand there's some concern that the data points that were presented about exposure levels or potential pathways were based on indoor sort of numbers, right, under your house, for example,
Is that right?
but not necessarily in whether direct impact with the soil for outdoor activities and play activities, open space activities was considered. And so I'm curious what the Air Force's plan to close that data gap is in a rapid fire succession, and how we can move forward to ensure that we're meeting those deadlines.
So I'll let
That was a lot.
jump in a second, but so several things there. So first of all, the way I heard her explain the shallow was,
Yep.
we had taken a pretty conservative approach of saying, if it's at 25 feet, we're going to presume it's at 0, and I do vapor stuff outside of just EDB. That's a pretty conservative approach. That means that if it's bad there, I'm going to presume it's bad at the top.
Right.
It might actually not be. I will also tell you that in general, when I look at vapor intrusion issues across our Air Force portfolio, the indoor is of far more concern because there's not a lot of air movement. So generally speaking, again, that's a very conservative approach to use the indoor standard, because generally speaking, when you're outside, when you're dealing with radon and things like that, it's when you're indoors, it's a problem. When you're outdoors, it's not a problem. That said, when we get this information, and if you want to do work out there, even with vapor intrusion, it's not that you can't do work. You have to have vapor barriers, and you have to do things to account for it. So I think we'll get the information you need so that it can be safe and will be safe. And then let me let Kate add anything else she wants to it.
Thanks, Ms. Liz.
And just to keep in mind that those, Mr. Correll was correct in what he was saying about vapor intrusion. We do quarterly monitoring in all of our 248 soil vapor locations that have 6 ports apiece on a quarterly basis. We look at this data all the time. When we did the risk assessment, we did look at the ambient air risk for recreational users at Bullhead Park, and they're safe. The real issue with this is back, frankly, and it's going to be really interesting when we get the coring results and some other things and really start to pull all these pieces together of what the remaining LNAPL is and what could be feeding vapor. Out in the field, we really didn't see anything out there. when we were doing the course. I mean, you probably saw that rig out in the soccer field, right? Yeah. My dogs are very intrigued with that every
Me
day.
too. You and I both are there every morning, I think, with our dogs.
Yep. And so what we're really thinking is when we were running the soil vapor extraction, we actually had a much larger zone of influence than we thought we did, and it was actually spreading vapor around a little bit. And now that we've got, the rebound is done and we're looking at things, we're really, we're not seeing that now. And so we're keeping an eye on the vapor data. If we see an uptick in anything, we compare it to the risk levels. We don't just do it when we do the risk assessment. We constantly keep an eye on it. The purpose for these shallow corings that the state asked for, just to make sure, and like I said, Dennis McQuillan and Bart Ferris in our last stakeholders meeting, we're all saying, we don't really think we're going to see anything here. We really, really, truly don't. We've been very conservative. But because of public concern,
sure.
and that 7.1 acre parcel is really in an area so distant from that, I wouldn't be concerned about that. But we can certainly sit down with you and go through that and show you our quarterly monitoring results and put people's mind to rest, because, we all know that that's a heavily used park, and it would be great to have more space. And could I briefly actually address a question that you had, Commissioner Hart-Stebbins, about why the CME process takes so long? So when you submit the corrective measures evaluation, what happens is we do technology screening, and then the ones that survive the first round go into the second round. We make recommendations for north-south Ridgecrest, each media. NMED then has 360 days under their rules to review that. They then come out with their recommended remedies, which may or may not match what we recommend. They put out a statement of basis and a fact sheet and a public notice period, at least 60 days probably, and then there will likely be a request for hearing. That's what actually pushes it, so it's that review period and the hearing that push that date out. So, but that process is what allows you, it's more than just a public meeting, it's an actual hearing on the record. So the Water Utility Authority could put on their own technical experts and cross-examine our technical experts. So that is a very robust process that's unique to RCRA, frankly, on remedy evaluation. So when we look at, should we put in other extraction wells closer to the source area, that will be the opportunity to really drill down into those and vet those. And I just wanted to explain that a little further.
Thank you.
Let's see if there are any other questions. Commissioner Stebbins, you said you had another one?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, one last question. And you're probably tired of me asking you this, but I think since 2014, I've asked you every time you've been here. I think back then, the Air Force made a commitment to 8 extraction wells.
Up to 8 extraction wells.
Up to 8 extraction wells, okay. I seem to remember a more detailed conversation about 4 now, 4 later. So my question is, if there are additional extraction wells, it's unlikely that those will be installed to address the EDB plume south of Ridgecrest until 2023?
It is unlikely we will take any additional measures beyond interim measures until we get to the CME completion. So
Right.
I would think that's correct. And why is that? Again, to remind you, because no one's at risk. We have mitigated the risk sufficiently at this point of anyone drinking water with EDB. We'll still do the vapors things that we need to do, but right now, the risk assessment indicates we don't need to do more until we know the rest of the story. So that's what I would expect, right?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Creel. I just have a quick question for our manager. So the report, as Mr. Creel stated, did not come to us. Well, it isn't actually in our, I don't think yet, or maybe we can download it now. So the Water Authority didn't have a really chance to look at the status report. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, that's correct.
So given, of course, our interest and not only our interest, but our stake as a stakeholder in this, I think it might be good to have our staff respond in some way to the status report for us. That would be good.
Madam Chair, I think at the May meeting, we can do that publicly.
Okay.
And I think we would also invite the New Mexico Environment Department Secretary to make a
Okay.
presentation.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
And
Gordon.
as you do that, we're very interested in your feedback on this, so I'd be interested to know what you think as well.
All right. Appreciate that. This was the status report.
This briefing. This briefing.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, if there are no other questions, we're going to move on to the next presentation, which is the Water and Drought Report. Mr. Carlos Bustos.
Is it next? Oh, there you go.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm Carlos Bustos, and I manage the water conservation program for the Water Authority. So I got 3 good news to share today. First good news is that our customers have saved almost 100 million gallons to date compared to last year. As you recall, last year we had a great conservation celebration, reaching 125 EPCD, our lowest to date. The other good news is that we're getting good rain. The winter was amazingly, we had a great precipitation. Some areas of Albuquerque had almost 8 inches just between November and March, while others had some 2 inches between January and March. So compared to last year, that's about 150% more. And it seems like our forecast moving forward is getting a lot better. So, as you may recall, last year when Catherine Yuhas came and did this presentation, we were moving into an advisory for a drought. That's not the case. Right now, even though the drought monitoring maps are showing that we're abnormally dry, which is surprising, because if you look outside right now, it's raining, and it seems like every 2 weeks we have been getting some good rainfall. Nevertheless, that's where we are today. As you may know, in order for us to move into a severe drought or drought advisory, the entire county has to be in severe drought, which means that it needs to be like in the orange to red. It's not looking like in the next 3 months we're going to move in that direction. If precipitation continues to be the same, we most likely are going to move on through the year and anticipating good precipitation in the next 3 months. So that was my second good news. My third good news is that, as you may recall, last year we entered into an agreement with City Parks and Recs to support the efforts of planting more trees and restore the canopy loss that we're facing here in Albuquerque area. Most of our trees were planted back in the 1920s, 1940s. A lot of those trees are aging. They're facing a risk of dying, and their lifespan is ending. So one of the big things that we're doing, not only through our tree bait program, is to support the efforts of city parks and planting mature trees in all our parks. The good news is that we also extended that donation of trees to the county. So now we're working with county land management and supporting their efforts. And thanks to both of those efforts, we have planted almost 300 trees in the last this winter season alone. So we're talking about mature trees with a 6-inch caliber, which can withstand these high winds that we get and most likely are going to be successful. And to
Mr. Bustos,
support,
just to interrupt, so
Yeah.
this is where there's some irrigation, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's in areas where there's already
Right.
irrigation.
Okay.
One of the techniques that both city and county parks do is that they plant the trees in the winter. In the winter, the irrigation systems is not on, and nevertheless, they still go out there at least twice a week with trucks and containers of water and water each individual tree.
Oh.
And the idea is that during the winter, the trees will put a lot more energy into growing those roots. That way, when it starts getting hot, those trees are ready to withstand the heat of the spring and the summer. And once the season kicks in, then they get water by spray irrigation. The other good news is that thanks to our tree bait, our customers have also supported the restoration of tree canopy loss in Albuquerque, and they planted almost 1,300 trees last year alone. So that's super successful. Not only are we working with city partners and county partners to increase the tree canopy, also we've seen that the tree bait alone, that's one of our rebates, has increased by almost 300% in the last 2 years. The participation, the energy is out there. There's a lot of programs that the city is sponsoring, and now the county, and through the Water Authority, we're encouraging and we continue to be vested in supporting these efforts. That way, 20 years from now, we can have a healthy tree canopy in more than 20 years, hopefully. And that were my 3 good news.
Okay, well, that's great news. Any other questions for Mr. Bustos? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Next is, we go to item 7, which is the introduction of the first reading of legislation. And that's our manager, Mr. Sanchez, 7A.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to provide some brief highlights on the rate ordinance. If you recall, the rate ordinance requires that we conduct a cost of service review every 2 years to ensure there's no cross-subsidy, there's integrity in the rate structure itself for our customers, and for any fees for service, including the UECs, the water supply charge. Those were all evaluated. If you recall, Water 2120 required that the Water Authority cease acquisition of water rights and move more towards reuse, recycling into the future. So that required a substantial change I'll go over later. The ordinance also contemplates changes to the Water Assistance Fund. If you recall, we have a low-income assistance program that's ongoing, whereas the Water Assistance Fund is more for emergencies, one-time occurrences. And I would point out that the origin of that fund was actually from our employees through a United Way campaign. And it was expanded later on by this board to allow customers to contribute to that in their monthly bills. The UECs were updated by the ENR index by 3.1%. So for the water UEC, it's about $100. For the sewer UEC, it's about $75. All of these proposed changes were reviewed by the Technical Advisory Committee. They had 3 meetings on this. Some of the recommendations are that the water resource charge, formerly known as the water supply charge, be phased in over a long period of time because of substantial increases. The TCAC also recommended that the UECs and water resource charge also be evaluated every 2 years in addition to rates. So with regard to the Water Assistance Fund, as I mentioned, it's currently funded by donations from ratepayers. We're currently receiving about $1,000 a month, about $12,000 annually. Not much. Our recommendation is that we appropriate $150,000 to this fund to help customers on a one-time assistance, and it would expand it to renters occupying single-family homes. It would also help customers in crisis. It would reduce staff time and eliminate shutoffs, escalating the fees, and potentially even qualifying over time for our low-income assistance program. With regard to the water resources charge, this again is shifting from water rights acquisition to bringing online infrastructure reuse projects over the next 45 to 50 years. This would only apply to new customers outside of the fully built areas that require development agreements, and this is in line with the no net expense for growth. So the impact, just on the 3/4 inch residential, the current water supply charge is about roughly $1,700. The new charge would go to about $4,000, a difference of almost $2,400. The recommendation would be to phase this in over 8 years because of the magnitude of the increase. So it'd be about $400 a year, each year over the next 8 years. So year 1 would be $2,000, and year 8 would be almost $5,000. That is the recommendation for that change. The last slide shows you the magnitude of our proposed change in relation to some of our neighbors in Colorado and Texas. And even with that change, although it's substantial, it's far less than what we see around us. So that's the short version of the presentation on the rate ordinance. I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Are there any questions on 9, on the first one, the changes to the rate ordinance? Commissioner Stemmons.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mark, the water resource charge, that's the former water supply charge. These increases would apply only to new service outside the current service area.
That is correct.
Okay, great. Second comment, I really want to thank you on behalf of my constituents for your work on the Water Assistance Fund. I think all of us who represent low-income areas know how many of our constituents kind of live paycheck to paycheck, and a crisis can really just push them over the edge. So something like this is incredibly important, the fact that it is now available to renters. I have had questions about that from time to time, and just, I understand the complexity of trying to expand it to multifamily housing, but just that small step, I think, is going to make a big difference for a lot of our families. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Davis.
Mr. Sanchez, I think that's great that we're doing the assistance fund, as the commissioner said. What are we doing to reach out to ratepayers to educate them about this? Or what is our protocol, say if someone falls behind a month or two? How proactive are we, or how are people engaged with that fund? I do, for the record, think we have the ability right now to appropriate some funds to it, and this board should do that. But how do we reach out to folks about that?
Madam Chair, Councilor Davis, we have two nonprofit partners. One is Storehouse of Albuquerque, and the other is the Rio Grande Food Project, who P&M uses actually for their Good Neighbor Fund. So we're kind of partnering with them at that location to reach out to customers that are coming in for their assistance as well. So that's the network we're using into the community to reach out.
And to follow up, but if, say, a customer begins to fall behind on their bill, and we start to send them notices, is there information in our notices that says we have this fund available if you apply, if you qualify, or is there a way that we're educating folks once they start to fall behind?
Madam Chair, Councilor Davis, our customer service representatives, as they're interacting with customers, educate them about that.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you. Takes us to 9B. Is it 9? Yeah. 7.
Madam Chair, with your permission, I'll address item B and C at the same time.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So this is our proposed budget for FY20. This chart basically shows you kind of the robust process we use to go through our budgeting process. It's a continuous process going forward. We're currently at the budget. We engage our customers with the Technical Advisory Committee, customer conversations. All of that feeds into our budgeting process over time. Our assumptions for FY20, we are not proposing a rate increase to our customers. There are no new FTEs. This is essentially a maintenance of effort budget. Our goal is to increase efficiencies internally to absorb a lot of these increases. We expect our increases to grow by 2%. We don't expect a lot of growth in our service area. We're assuming our consumption levels would be at last year's levels, which were 125 gallons per capita per day. We continue to increase our capital spending by $3 million each year, as directed by this board. Our rate reserve is funded at $9 million. If you recall, this is a separate rate reserve in the event of huge consumption fluctuations due to conservation, and that would not require us to go to our ratepayers for an emergency rate increase. And our fund balance will remain at 1/12 of operating expenses. This pie chart kind of just shows you where the $231 million budget would come from. 55% water, 40% sewer, 2.7% miscellaneous, which are interest earnings, lease payments for water sales, and compost sales. And the working capital is basically drawing down from our fund balance to fund basically the capital contribution and increased chemicals. Expenses, our largest expense is obviously debt service, almost $80 million a year. Then wages and benefits, operating expenses, transfer of the funds, which is cash transfers capital, and risk and workers' comp, which I would point out have not changed for the last 2 years due to our wellness program and safety measures. Just to remind you, We tend not to tout our own horn, but we've received some pretty prestigious awards over the last year. We received a National Water Protection Award. We received a Platinum Award for Utility Excellence, Partnership for Safe Water, and a Peak Performance Award. And last but not least, we were AAA upgraded by S&P, and there's only about 7% of utilities across the country that are in that category. In terms of accomplishments, I'm not going to dwell on these. You can see these yourself. But we exceeded our target for conservation, and despite drought and river conditions that curtailed our surface water, we still produced over half of our consumption with surface water. Bear Canyon continues. One significant achievement was we had customer conversations on water quality throughout the community, and what we heard loud and clear from customers was that water quality report you send to us every year, hard to understand, very technical. We want you to change it. So we've changed that in May. Staff will present that to you, and it'll show drastic changes, a lot more graphic information that customers can digest. Most of you know we completed the Rivers and Aquifers Water Protection Plan. That's been presented. That was a significant achievement. We're engaged in the Los Padillas Waterline Project, and our water quality lab has been reaccredited at the highest standard in the country. And we created our own online application system called Authority Works for applicants. In terms of priorities for FY20, as we presented at the last meeting, we're going to engage with Explora to create a partnership to have interactive water exhibits at Explora. We're engaged in some best practice activities with the American Water Works Association. We're going to complete phase 3 of what we call our Maximal asset management system. And what that means is we're going to have better information about every asset we have and when it's time to rehab it or replace it. We'll be one of probably 5 utilities in the country that will have this system in place. We're updating our emergency response plan to include cybersecurity and vulnerability of all of our assets. That's a big issue for all utilities around the country. We are consolidating our customer service operation and our field operations at the Renaissance location where our water treatment plant is. So we're going to bring 3 different locations together. We'll be moving outside of Pino Yards that we currently lease from the city. We'll be completing the pharmaceutical and personal care products study. If you recall, over the last few years, many customers have come before you saying, we'd really like to know what's in that river aside from what you're monitoring. We are doing that. We'll conclude that probably in September. We're finalizing our discharge permit with EPA, and we hope to complete construction of the Los Padillas Water Project. We will also be completing the environmental plan outlined in 2120. The groundwater and reuse plan will be an ongoing effort, but we anticipate completing the first phase of both of those. With our RAP project, we'll begin analyzing this by each well capture zone. And we'll hopefully begin operation of a large-scale aquifer storage and recovery project to inject excess surface water into the aquifer for future drought reserve. Moving on to the capital projects, we anticipate $68.5 million appropriation, of which $58 million will be for basic capital rehab. The majority of that will continue to go to upgrading our wastewater treatment plant. Our sewers, we received $2.6 million in the last legislative session, $2.2 million of which was to have a pilot project with Winrock to create the first reuse-driven mall, green mall, if you will. $4.5 million for our vehicle and heavy equipment replacement, $2 million to continue our automated infrastructure for meter reading, and $1 million for steel line replacement. One of the projects we discussed last year as a priority is covering what's known as the clarifiers at our wastewater treatment plant. There are 4 major large clarifiers. You can see from this photo, these large kind of aluminum structures are now covering those. These are the last source of potential odors at that plant. So we anticipate being as best we can be odor-free at that facility for the surrounding communities. The last slide here shows the decade plan CIP spending. The bars show the spending each year. The yellow line shows the cash transfer. And as you can tell, more and more of our CIP spending will be from cash. If you look at about 2026, about 50% of our debt service payments will be completely paid for, and about $40 million a year in 2026 will be freed up for additional cash financing of capital improvements. So 2120, if you recall, had $600 million worth of projects. A lot of those will be able to be financed into the future with that debt service coverage payments savings. I'd be happy to answer any questions at this point.
I thank you very much, Mr. Sanchez. And, you know, I was just, when you had that one slide about all the awards, the accomplishments, they're very, very laudable, well-deserved awards, and I want to thank you and your staff. And I've mentioned this before, it really is, I think it has to say a lot about your leadership, and I want to thank you very much for that, and thank your staff. You all have done an excellent job. Are there any other comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. There is nothing on the consent agenda, but we go next to approvals. Welcome, Mr. Rao.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the board, the FY20 goals and objectives were presented at the March meeting. So I don't have a presentation at this time, but just to follow up on the presentation that Mr. Sanchez made, linking up the budget priorities to the objectives in front of you as a resolution. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item 9A. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion carries. Thank you. Go to 9B, C1914. This is approving supplemental agreement with EMA Inc. in relation to the asset management Maximal system upgrade, Phase 3.
Madam Chairman, member of the board, this is asking for your approval to agree a supplement of about $1.4 million for a supplement for Phase 3 for the MA contract. Mr. Sanchez talked about that in his budget presentation. There is budgeted CIP funds for this supplement as well.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second to approve 9B. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion carries. Thank you. Item C. This is the C round of understanding with the Village of Tijeras.
Good evening, Madam Chair. This agreement before you is a continuation of an agreement that we had with the Village of Tijeras 5 years ago. They have a well. They don't have water rights sufficient to offset the effects of that well on the Rio Grande, so they're asking us to grant them return flow credits, and so this would do that for the next 5 years to give them a chance to purchase some additional water rights and transfer them to the well.
Thank you, Mr. Stomp. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve C1915. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion carries. It takes us to 9D.
Madam Chair, this is a storage agreement with OK Wingate Pueblo. This is a continuation of the Water 2120 policies to use Albuquerque Reservoir as a resource for everybody in the Middle Valley. So we're requesting approval for this storage agreement up to 10,000 acre-feet of San Juan Chama water.
Okay, if there aren't any questions, I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item 9D. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Thank you. And that's the last item on our agenda. Thank you all very much, and good evening. This meeting is adjourned.